I booked the entire family a vacation to Hawaii. Not just the flights, not just the hotel. I covered everything. 12 people, round-trip tickets, 5 nights at a beachfront resort, all meals, activities, rental cars. The total was just under $28,000. No one asked me to do it. No one begged. I just wanted to do something good. Because for years, I'd been the one they forgot. The afterthought. The background noise in every family photo. I thought, maybe if I did something big, something generous, they'd finally see me. But let me go back. My name's Elle. I'm 29. I live in Seattle. I work in software, long hours, not much of a social life. My family lives in Arizona. We don't talk often, but when we do, it's usually about them needing something. My older brother Jason is the golden boy. Real estate, flashy cars, constantly praised. My younger sister Mandy is the baby. 2 kids by 25. My parents call her the angel. I'm the middle child, the quiet one, the one who moved away and never came back. My mom says I chose to leave. My dad says I never fit in. Still, I visit every holiday. I send gifts. I remember birthdays. I transfer money when things get tight. 2 years ago, I sent $10,000 when Jason's deal fell through. Last spring, I paid off Mandy's credit card debt. Quietly, no thanks. I never said anything. I didn't want recognition, just respect. So when my manager offered me a year-end bonus, $31,000 before tax, I decided to do something different. I emailed my family. I said, "Let's go to Hawaii. My treat. I'll handle everything." The replies came in fast, excited, grateful, at least on the surface. Jason said, "First class, right?" Mandy asked if she could bring her in-laws. My mom asked if we could go during her birthday week. I said yes to everything. I booked the flights, reserved the resort, sent everyone detailed itineraries. It took 3 weeks to finalize everything. I booked myself a single room, ocean view, room 734. The rest of the family had 4 double rooms. Same floor, same wing. We were set. I flew in a day early to double-check everything. I met with the hotel staff, confirmed the bookings, even arranged for welcome baskets in each room. Fruit, wine, and handwritten cards. Mine said, "Thanks for coming, I love you all, Elle." The next day, they arrived. I stood at the hotel lobby, smiling. They walked in, but no one looked for me. Jason was busy on his phone. Mandy was yelling at her kids. My parents were arguing over a taxi receipt. I waved. My mom saw me. She said, "Oh, you're here already?" I nodded. She didn't hug me. Jason patted my shoulder like I was a coworker. Mandy said, "Is there a kids club?" My boys get bored easily. We checked in. I handed out the keys. Everyone walked off without a word. I went to my room, alone. That night, I waited at the resort restaurant. I had reserved a large table. No one came. I checked my phone. A message from Mandy. "We're eating at a local spot. Jason found this amazing BBQ place. You probably wouldn't like it. Too loud." No invite. I stayed and ate alone. I signed the check, $216. Still on my card. The next morning, I walked to the beach. I saw them, my entire family, lined up on towels, laughing, drinking smoothies. I waved. My dad looked up, then turned back to Jason. They didn't tell me they were going. I stood for a while, then walked away. Later that day, I called the hotel front desk, asked to confirm room 734. They hesitated, then said, "Actually, ma'am, it seems your room has been reassigned. You've been moved to our partner property down the street." I blinked. "What?" "Yes, someone from your party requested it. They said you preferred something quieter." I asked for the name. They said, "Your mother, Marie Carson." I didn't respond. I walked back to the lobby. My keycard didn't work. The front desk handed me a new envelope. Different logo, different address. 3 blocks away. No ocean view, no fruit basket. Just a standard room, motel style, thin walls, broken AC. I sat on the bed. The sheets smelled like bleach. I checked my phone. A single message from my mom. "Hope this is better for you. The resort was crowded. Didn't want you to feel overwhelmed. Love you." No one else texted. No one asked if I was okay. No one explained. I paid for the vacation. I booked every room, but I was the one kicked out. The next morning, I walked back to the resort. The front desk tried to stop me. I said nothing. I just walked through the lobby. To the pool deck. I saw them, my family, lined up for a group photo, all of them wearing matching shirts. Carson Family 2025. They didn't save one for me. The photographer raised his camera. I stood behind the bushes. My mom posed with Jason, her hand on his chest, like he was her husband. Mandy had her boys on her lap, her husband behind her. My dad held up a drink. I wasn't in the photo. I turned, walked away. That night, they had a luau. I wasn't invited. The day after, a hike, no message. On the third day, I packed my bags, left the motel, took a cab to the airport. I flew home early. No one noticed, no one texted. I had spent $28,000 on that vacation, and they had kicked me out of the hotel I booked. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't call anyone. I just smiled and left quietly. But 2 months later, I got an email. Subject line, "Hey Elle, quick favor?" It was from Jason. Apparently, his client backed out of a real estate deal. He needed a short-term loan, $12,000. I didn't respond. An hour later, a second email came in, this time from my mom. "Honey, Jason's in a tight spot. You've always been the responsible one. Help him just this once." Still no mention of Hawaii, still no apology. I didn't reply. Then came Mandy. She left me a voicemail, said she was looking for work, said her husband was between jobs, said the kids needed school supplies, asked if I could Venmo her $300. Just for now. I played the voicemail 3 times. She ended it with, "Love you, sis. You're the best of us." I hadn't heard that in years. Still, I didn't send a thing. No one ever brought up the vacation. No one ever asked why I left early, or if I made it home safe. It was like I'd never been there. 3 weeks passed. Then I got a message from my dad. He rarely texts. It said, "You coming to Thanksgiving?" No details, no greeting, just a demand. I wrote back, "No." He didn't reply. Thanksgiving came. I stayed in Seattle, made myself a plate of pasta, worked on a new project. 2 months later, it launched. A software plugin I'd been building quietly for 14 months. It went viral. Within 48 hours, it hit the top of Product Hunt. I was flooded with emails, investors, journalists, recruiters. 2 weeks later, I got an acquisition offer, $3.2 million. I accepted. I didn't tell anyone, not even my friends, just kept working. Quietly, calmly. 6 months after Hawaii, I bought a house. A 3-bedroom loft overlooking the water, all cash. I had the keys delivered by courier. I didn't post photos, didn't share on social media, didn't send the family my new address. They didn't ask, but eventually they found out. Not from me. Jason saw a write-up about the acquisition in a tech newsletter. He forwarded it to the family group chat. I wasn't in the group chat anymore. Mandy texted me separately. "OMG, is this true? You sold something? Like a company?" I didn't answer. The next day, my mom called, for the first time in months. I let it ring. She called again. Then she left a voicemail. "Elle, it's Mom. I just want to say how proud we are. You've come so far. I knew you had it in you." No mention of the motel, no mention of the fruit basket, just pride. Now that I was useful again, I still didn't answer. 2 days later, I got a wedding invitation. Mandy and her husband were renewing their vows. Destination ceremony, Mexico. The card said, "Come celebrate love with us. All expenses covered, except flights." Handwritten at the bottom, "Hope you can make it this time." I stared at the envelope, then threw it in the trash. Weeks passed. Then my dad texted, another one-word message. "Help." That was it. I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, a new message came through. This time, a photo. Their kitchen, flooded. The ceiling had collapsed, water damage everywhere. Followed by another message. "Insurance won't cover all of it. Jason's maxed out. Mandy's struggling. You're our last shot." I stared at the photo, then typed, "Check your bank." I sent $20, exactly 20, not $2,000, not $200, 20. Enough for one mop. He didn't reply. I didn't expect him to. 3 days later, I flew to Europe. Solo trip. 10 cities in 30 days. I stayed in luxury suites, ate at Michelin-starred restaurants. I kept all the receipts, every hotel, every meal. I printed them, bound them, leather cover, title, what I did instead. When I got back, I mailed the book to my parents' house. No return address. Inside the front cover, I wrote one line. Thanks for the motel. No one ever acknowledged it, not a single word. But I know they got it, because the messages stopped. No more requests, no more guilt trips, just silence. And in that silence, I finally breathed. For the first time in years. I didn't feel like I was waiting to be invited, waiting to be loved, waiting to be good enough. I had already arrived, quietly, without them. But the silence didn't last. Mandy broke first. She sent me a Facebook friend request. Then a message. Hey stranger, just thinking about you. Let's talk soon? Miss you. I didn't respond. She waited 2 days, then tried again. This time, a picture of her kids, standing in front of a lemonade stand. We're teaching them about business early. You'd be so proud. They still talk about Aunt Elle. I stared at the screen. They weren't allowed to call me that. Not back then. When I tried to send birthday gifts, she'd return them unopened. We don't want to confuse the kids, she said. But now I was Aunt Elle again. Now I was a good example. I didn't answer. A week later, I got a LinkedIn message from Jason. He was pivoting into a new business, some kind of startup. No website, just an idea. He said he was looking for angel investors, said I was family and family helps family. I read it twice. He attached a PDF pitch deck. It had typos on the first page. The logo was stolen from Canva. He ended with, let me know if you want in before we go public. I closed the message, blocked him. An hour later, I got a text from my dad. Jason says you're being petty. That was it. That was the text. Not, how are you? Not, congrats again. Just a passive threat. I didn't reply. But later that night, I opened a blank note on my phone, and I wrote 3 words. I was nothing. That's what they always told me, that I was difficult, cold, ungrateful, not enough. They said it in quiet ways, in seating arrangements, in vacation plans, in the way no one noticed when I left the room. I wrote it again. I was nothing. Then I changed one word. I was nothing to them. Not anymore, not to me. Summer came. I turned 31. I rented a private island in Greece for the week. Just me and 2 friends from college. No Instagram, no hashtags, just peace. One morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls. All from different family members. Jason, Mandy, Dad, even Mom. I thought someone had died. They hadn't. They just saw the article. Tech founder's quiet fortune, the Elle Myers story. The photo showed me sitting by the water, wearing sunglasses, smiling. It was the first time in years I let myself smile in public. I guess that made it real. The article listed everything, the sale price, the patent, the private equity firm backing my next project, even the anonymous donation I made to my old high school. $1 million. In my sister's valedictorian speech, she said, I want to be someone who gives back. Like Elle. She never knew I heard that. I was sitting in the back row. She didn't invite me to the graduation. I came anyway, quietly. She never looked at me. So I left before the ceremony ended. I hadn't seen her since, until now. Now she was calling me, texting me, tagging me in throwback photos. Sisters forever? No apology, no explanation, just rebranding. I ignored them all. Then one night at 2 a.m., I got an email from my mom. The subject line was blank. The message said, I miss the little girl who used to braid my hair. I stared at it for 10 full minutes, then typed, she's still here. You just booked her a different hotel. I never hit send. Instead, I saved it to drafts. Sometimes I still open it, reread it, feel the ache of what could have been. But I never send it. I don't think they'd understand. They think this is about money, about payback. They don't know it's about being invisible. They don't know it's about standing in a crowded room and feeling like a ghost. The thing is, I didn't walk away because I got rich. I got rich because I walked away. And now they can't reach me. Not really. They can text, they can email, they can follow and like and tag. But they can't touch the part of me that left the motel. The part of me that stood in the doorway, holding a bag of snacks, wondering if this was the punchline. They laughed behind my back, booked me a different hotel, told me to be grateful, told me I was dramatic. And now they say I'm cold. Now they say I changed. Maybe I did. But change doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it shows up as a knock. It was late September when I got the message, from Mandy again. But this time it was short, just a sentence. Mom's in the hospital. She asked for you. No emojis, no passive-aggressive guilt, just a simple sentence. I stared at it for an hour. Then I booked a flight home, not because I missed her, not because I wanted closure, but because I needed to see for myself if the woman who raised me had ever seen me at all. The hospital was quiet, sterile, smelled like cheap hand soap and plastic curtains. She looked smaller than I remembered, older. Her hands were pale, 4 lines tangled across her wrist like vines. She opened her eyes when she heard me, didn't smile, didn't cry, just said, "You're here." I didn't answer. She blinked slowly, then said, "I was wrong, that's all." 3 words, no details, no apology, no, "I'm sorry I made you feel like you didn't belong." Just, "I was wrong." And somehow that made it worse, because if she knew even back then, and still did nothing, that's not ignorance, that's cruelty. She reached for my hand. I let her. Her grip was light, weak. She whispered, "You were always the strong one." I stayed for 10 minutes. Then I stood up. She asked, "Will you come back?" I didn't nod. I didn't shake my head. I just walked out. On the way out, I passed Mandy in the hallway. She looked up from her phone, smiled, like nothing had ever happened, like I hadn't been erased. "I'm glad you came," she said. I looked at her for the first time in years. Really looked. She looked tired, older than her age. Her designer purse was scuffed, her phone screen cracked. Behind her eyes, there was something familiar, something I had seen in the mirror for years. A quiet kind of sadness, but I didn't say anything. I just walked past her and left the hospital. That night, I stayed in a hotel downtown. A different hotel, one I booked for myself. 5 stars, floor-to-ceiling windows, robes with my initials embroidered. Room service delivered dinner on a silver tray. I sat by the window, watched the city lights blink like old memories, and thought about the vacation, the one I paid for, the one they hijacked, the one where they booked me a different hotel like I was some outsider tagging along. That week, I gave them a gift, and they turned it into a lesson. They taught me where I stood, outside the circle, out of sight, out of mind, and they never expected I'd learn from it. But I did. They built walls. I built exits. They drew lines. I drew boundaries. They made me feel small. So I made a life so big, they'd never be able to reach it. A few months later, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photo album. My mom's. Old pictures, birthdays, Christmas, vacations. Most of them didn't have me in them, but near the back, there was one. Faded, slightly torn. It was a picture of me as a kid, asleep on the couch, a handmade crown on my head, crayons all over the floor. On the back, in her handwriting, it said, "Ella, age 6, said she wanted to be queen of something one day." No signature, no explanation, just that. I closed the album, and for the first time in years, I didn't cry, I didn't ache, I just sat there, still. Because I realized something. I'm the queen of something now. My own life, my own peace, my own silence. And no one gets to book my room anymore. Not them, not anyone.